Support for this podcast comes from The First One with DJ Khaled, a new podcast only available on Amazon Music.
What's up, y'all? This is DJ Khaled, and this is The First One. I talk to the most iconic artists on the planet about songs that didn't change the game, but changed their life. We hear from all the A-list music stars like J Balvin, Nas, and Kelly Rowland, who tell their stories about their first hits that took them to being overlooked to being overbooked. Join me every Thursday, only on Amazon Music.
You're now listening to The Bradshaw Boys, a podcast where three relatively grown men binge the iconic HBO series Sex and the City. So dust off those DVDs and grab yourself a white wine or even a Cosmopolitan and settle in. Take it away, boys.
Welcome to the Bradshaw Boys, a podcast where three guys watch Sex and the City and are now here to answer your questions. I'm Cory Cavin.
My name's Kevin James Doyle.
My name is Jon Sieber, and
we didn't mostly watch the series. We fucking watched the series.
We watched the whole thing.
The mostly is out of the tagline. I am still working on what our final tagline will be, but we know this: the mostly's gone.
Yeah, it's
Bye, mostly
completely gone.
See, you know what we traded? You know what we traded for mostly? When we started the pod, we traded our mostly, and we got our final chip. We got that final episode, and we handed it in to the podcast gods, and we handed in our mostly, and they handed us back tens of thousands of fans.
That's right.
That's right.
You know what they handed? You know what they handed me? And I gotta be honest to the listener of the podcast. I woke up today with a bad case of whistle nose. Do you guys ever get whistle nose when you're breathing?
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah,
sometimes,
I don't like for some reason. Just today, I was in the kitchen. I was making a smoothie for lunch, and Katie's like, "Do you hear that whistling that's like going on? Is there something wrong with the refrigerator?" And I was like, "Oh no, that's just my breathing today. My nose is letting off a high pitched whistle. So if you hear it while you're listening to the podcast, forgive me."
But it lasts all day with you? Like
yeah,
mine will be like 10
stop.
minutes, and then I will just, get some tissue and just really get in there and get rid of the whistle.
Maybe that's what I need to do. I don't know. So I just need to put that out there.
Corey and I got COVID tests this weekend, and
just thinking
Corey was completely normal day, and then he got a COVID test, and I heard like they weren't going as high into your nose anymore. They went so high up, and after that, the next 4 hours, Corey's just like, like it fucked your nose up.
Oh man,
that's a lie. I was not. I sneezed 3 times after it happened. I didn't keep doing it after that.
I think it changed the course of your nasal passages.
This is the first you've heard. This is the first I've heard of this. You didn't say any of this yesterday. I sneezed 3 times after it happened. But that was I thought it still bothered you. It bothered me for longer than that. It sounds like I bothered you for the rest of the day.
No, you didn't bother
nose
me.
noises.
No. I think it bothered.
This is the first I'm hearing of it.
Then I think it happened to me as well, and I was like, oh, I'm in solidarity. It's happening to Corey as well. Because after that, I don't know if you guys are regular cocaine users out there. Just kidding. But we were joking about I was joking about how it's like how it just like the rest of the day I had just like nasal drip. And people say when you use cocaine, I'm not gonna lie, I've done cocaine before. I've not done it a bunch, but I've done it at least twice.
And when you say before, you mean before we recorded today.
Before we recorded today.
Yes.
But it like released like doing that nasal passage thing that went so high up. It was like there was like drip in the back. What?
You started this story. You weren't sure if you were going to talk about your drug use. Where you're like, people have said that you get a drip, and then you're just like, I'm not going to lie, I've done it before.
That's because I'm not good. I'm not good at lying, and also I have nothing to be ashamed of. I'm not.
What if this story was a vehicle to start where it'd be like, it messed up Corey's sinus passages, but you were like, I got to find some way to admit that I did cocaine. So I'll talk about the fact that it messed up Corey's nose.
Yeah.
What character on Sex and the City cumulatively has done the most cocaine?
That we know of, or that we're speculating?
Well,
no, I'm not talking about actor.
I think I'm talking
about
That's
no. I know.
This is complete speculation. Like which of the main
question
characters...
is the easiest question anyone's ever said.
Really?
It's so clear. It's written into the show. Lexi
Featherstone.
Yeah, she's done the most cocaine of anyone who appeared on the show.
Maybe Lexi wants you to think it, that she does the most cocaine.
Well,
she
yeah, because she
on
did.
Camera. She did it.
Dude,
she's like the guy that ate the most. She's like Cody Chestnut, or who's the guy that that wins the most hot dogs? It's like he wants you to think he wins the most, and it's like, yeah, it's because he eats the most.
His first name's definitely not Cody, but that's such a better name than
it's but who's Cody Chestnut? That's someone.
Dude, I don't know. I think it's Bunny, because I think Bunny has done the most coke, because she was like around when like it was just you did coke before tea,
like Cole Porter times, just like,
yeah,
give me some of that snuff there, lady.
Exactly,
dude. You think Bunny was pounding cocaine?
100%.
Really? 100%. You think so?
You think traded cocaine?
A couple times. He tried it 2 times. You and Trey have probably tried it the same amount of times.
That's it.
Dude. Also, Cody Chestnut was a guitarist
from the Roots.
He played in the Roots. When you were saying that, I was like, "Who is Cody Chestnut?" He played in the Roots.
No, who I meant to say was Joey Chestnut, who wins
the
competitive hot dog contest every year.
What kind of food do you think Cody Chestnut can take down the most of?
Oh,
what do you think?
I'm trying. I mean, he's a kind of a thin guy. I think he seems like he's like one of those guys that, like,
dude, he can just eat the most raw broccoli without like having to dip it in hummus or anything like that.
I feel like you would be at like a catering table at some movie that he's like doing music for or something like that, and you would get in some conversation with him about like Ayurvedic healing and like the benefits of being on a vegan diet and also like not eating nightshades. Like he's like one of those guys that you could be like, wow, dude. He's like, you know what you can take down a lot of? This certain leaf that you get in this other country. And you're like, you're very healthy, Cody Chestnut. He's like one of those guys. He doesn't seem like a guy that's going to take down 47 million hot dogs.
All right. He hasn't had a fucking hit in 20 years. We're not wasting any more time talking about Cody has been Chestnut. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Just because hey, Cody, if you're listening, go fucking write a new song that someone's heard in the past 20 years.
Chesty Code.
Oh my gosh.
Go ahead. Tell us what's up.
We put up things and ask for questions, and people are like, you're like, oh, here's this one thing. Obviously, when we posted that, we got responses for for just general questions about the final episode.
Yeah.
Big response. So we have a lot of them, and we also have a lot of time to fill. And so we are going to meticulously
don't show our hand there. Well, so we finished the show, and now we've got to. I mean, listen. What do you guys want? What do you want? You want recipes? You want workouts? What do you want? We got a lot of time.
Eloquently, when we were talking about it, you're like, we talked to Jen Kirkman, and now we're going to talk to the fans. And Kevin gets a microphone. He's like, we got a lot of time to waste.
Yeah. Let me take this one. Let me just take the reins of this one, and then you can go back to calling Cody Chestnut a bastard or whatever you want to do.
It doesn't hurt and no one cares about that because no one knows who it is. And even after they read his Wikipedia, they won't.
But until they see Seed 2.0, the Roots song, and they'll be like, that guy? We finished the show, and we had a whole episode where we were like, we watched the last one. We freaked out about it. After we watched the last episode, we talked with one of our favorite guests, Jen Kirkman, and did a whole follow-up with Kirkman. And now we want to talk to you, the listeners, who have sent us so many questions and who have been with us on this. And we want to respond to your questions and queries about the final episode.
That was so beautiful. That was so good. Corey, thank you.
Thanks.
Kevin, can you hit us with another TLDR?
What's that? I've seen that.
This is what the podcast is from now on, by the way, guys.
Too long didn't listen to Corey. We're bored. We got nothing to talk about. So here's us making up, and here's spinning yarn.
I specifically meant that in that we aren't watching an episode.
Yeah.
So we can tend to the garden of our audience and see what sprouts we get from that garden.
I do want to say before we do need to get into it, but we have future plans that don't involve watching the show now, which are we have some writers of the show that we're going to interview. We've got other things coming up. We do have time to fill, but there are like plans in ways to do that. But we want to answer your questions before.
All right. I say we do this. I'll read one first, and then you can just go to the next one. And if we skip a question, we will read all the questions. But if but yeah, if it's just like a comment or something, one of us, we can go round table until we get to until we get to one. Point. Like, here we go. Lindsay Leanne said, would you have picked a different ending?
Ooh.
Now, that's interesting because there's a lot of
What would
endings.
be, can we just talk about like what a different possible ending, what would have been a different possible acceptable ending to the show? I mean, the one that comes to my mind is that she doesn't end up with Big. He kind of rescues her from Paris. He does go back to New York with her, but then tells him that once again that she is an unbridled horse that needs to roam the city. That would have been ending.
Going back to the horse thing from Big's wedding or Big's engagement party, you mean like the unbridled horse at the horse and carriage deal?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have. Yeah, I can see that. I would say that they kind of. I wouldn't have chosen that because I can like they didn't go whole hog on the Big thing. It's not like he like came up and they like walked into a restaurant together hand in hand. It's like they had their connection, and now it's like he's dropping her off. Well, he's going to come upstairs for a little bit.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah. But it's sort of like it doesn't rely. It relies on him like getting her and then giving it a shot. And so I'm kind of satisfied with the Big ending because it was like, all right, they're going to give it another go, but it wasn't just like, oh my gosh, now that I have Big, I'm happy. So I wouldn't have changed that, but I see where you're saying. I can't imagine them breaking up again or them like bringing him back for him to just be like, you got to run free. It's like, no, that would have been weird.
Mm-hmm.
What if they would have just eloped in Paris? What about that? Like they got married in Paris.
Well, that's why I think this one was like a good split the difference, because then it wasn't that Carrie needs Big to be happy. It's like she needed to have the seed 2.0 with Big planted, but that be the reliance on like her character becoming who her Carrie's meant to be.
I mean, another story option is they could have gone up to the room and he could not have tripped. They could have gotten into a physical altercation with Alexander Petrovsky. Big could have thrown him out of a window. He would have fallen 6 stories and impaled himself on the fence
on
outside
a gargoyle,
the hotel. And then the rest of the series could then been fleeing from law enforcement agencies and Interpol across Europe.
You know what? I'll say this. I think they could have really executed him getting them getting to the room and having a real funny, like super cringy but funny and ultimately like high stakes thing if he got to the room and like, I don't know, Big ends up buying a painting of his or something. Like I think
it
obviously
just shows
that would have shown
Carrie.
Petrovsky's kind of heartbroken now too. We got to think about him. All right. Just because you hit someone doesn't mean you can't be heartbroken. Okay?
It ends with Carrie once again sitting at that bench in the museum as Big as just walking around looking at paintings with Petrovsky.
And just being like, I like this, the tone of this. I liked the end. I thought it was perfect. We would have, if we didn't like the ending, we would have talked about it last week.
What about?
Yeah, I don't think I would have chosen a different one.
What about someone not Big going to Paris to get her? Like, what about Miranda going to get Carrie and bringing their girl home? Or all the women going to Paris to get her.
Here's what I would have liked. Now
you get a chat and chew in a cafe.
What I would have liked is if Big's plane got rerouted. Okay.
Mhm.
He can't fly into Paris. It ends up having to fly into, like Bordeaux or some other place. And then he has to do what Kevin's mom from Home Alone does. And he has to hop in the back of a truck with like French John Candy. And he's just like, I got to get to my girl. And he's just like, he's in a French jazz band just being like, yes, so you love this woman. And he's like, I've got to get there. And he's like, let me play this. And then like some lady singing Edith Piaf, and he's just like having the best time. And then when he goes out and like gets the girl, he's like, listen, it's the city of love. You must find her. And then like Big just has like just back and forth with them, just having the best road trip of all time.
That would be great too. I think long story short for all of us is we are all very satisfied with the ending. I was extremely satisfied with the ending. I'm glad it ended the way it did. It was perfect.
Yeah. I agree.
Next question.
There's one from a former guest, not a former guest, just a guest on our podcast, Anna Roisman. She just says, "Are you okay?" Shout out to Anna Roisman. Go listen to her episode. I would say we're okay, but you know what? I will say this, Kevin. I think we talked the next day. I do remember both of us being like, you and I texted the next day, and you were like, "Can I share this?"
Yeah, tell everyone. Hey, I've done cocaine 2 times, and also I texted this to Cory the next day. Just share it all.
You just texted me the next day to just say that.
Just say exactly what I said.
You just said, "I woke up sad." And then I said, "Why?" Oh no. Well, then I said, "Well, guess what? I wake up sad every day, so get used to it." And then, but it was a joke. I don't wake up sad every day. And then I was like, "No, why?" Because we finished the show, and you were like, "I don't know. I'm not sure." But it did make me think about the day after we did this, I was working on some other thing and had stuff to work on. But as I was doing that, I was like, oh yeah, my head has been in this place of working on this other stuff. And like, I realized like there's never going to be a time that we can go back.
Mm-hmm.
Not only that we hadn't watched the show, but we hadn't watched the show together.
Yeah.
So like in her thing of being like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, I did think that day as I was like working on other stuff, I was like, oh man, we're done.
Yeah.
Like what the heck, So
yeah, I mean, Cory and I have done a bunch of like big shows before, and there's always like a post-show depression that is like, that is probably after any big event. Even like people say in like January, people get more depressed because it's like right after the holidays and then you're back to normal. Mm-hmm. And so I think there was some of that. And there was also a little bit of like our conversations were really good. And then we're like deeply dissecting how we felt about these characters. And then you're sort of like, oh man, like I want to fall in love. Like I want to get, I want to have that experience. Like, I don't know. That's like why people get invested in it. And so I think there was a thing of like, I've never been so deeply invested in what's essentially a romantic comedy.
Yeah.
It is like, this has all the ingredients of like a little bit of When Harry Met Sally and a little bit of this, a little bit of that, only over a little bit of friendship. It has all these like different ingredients, but essentially it's like about friendship and love and all this stuff. So that's why I woke up sad. And you know what? Here's the thing. I'm in touch with my emotions enough to reach out to my friend and know that he's going to say, "Hey, I got you." And you know what Cory and I did yesterday? We went on a fucking date to Bear Mountain. We went hiking. We talked about our lives.
We got COVID tests.
We got COVID tests together.
That.
We just railed a bunch of cocaine at the top of Bear Mountain. There's like
Cory bugged you the rest of the ride home, clearing his throat, apparently.
I probably did that. I do that stuff without really realizing that I'm doing it. So I probably did. But yeah, we got in touch with our emotions. We had some great talks. And, this all brought us together.
Do you think
really
that?
I
think that you would have done that Bear Mountain trip, had those nice talks, and done that friend date had you not done the Bradshaw Boys?
Probably.
Okay.
Just because we were doing that stuff before the Bradshaw Boys, but I think it gives us more stuff to talk about.
I think it informed our conversation.
I think it totally informed our conversation. And I think, I mean, we've talked about this on the podcast before, but Kevin and I, all three of us were friends before when Kevin and I were doing a show together. So we were always having to be in touch about something, but the podcast has had a reason for all of us to be in touch at least once a week.
Yeah.
Usually many more times. So like, I think we probably would have gone upstate, but I think we were way more in touch because we've been talking about this all the time.
I think we also specifically, I don't think this is divulging too much, but I think we specifically had a conversation of what we're looking for in love, and a few of those conversations revolved around Harry Goldenblatt and a few other different characters. We're like, it's like sometimes it'd be like that, and it's like, and it might not be exactly what you're looking for, and it's like, this is no microphones, just me and Cory walking through a forest.
That's 100% true.
Yeah.
Oh man, I love the idea of like some group of girls hiking behind you, just listening to you and be like, are they? I think they're talking about Sex and the City. They're definitely talking about Sex and the City.
Yeah.
Why does that one guy keep clearing his throat?
It's me, Kira Jaderisi said, who's your all-time favorite character?
Gosh.
All-time favorite character.
Damn.
It's so tough. There's like, Turtletaub comes in there in the running. Bernie Turtletaub.
Bernie T.
BT.
I mean, Steve is a strong
Steve
one,
is very
obviously.
strong.
It's almost like you need different tiers for people,
Yeah,
like
no,
one-offs.
So like whenever I ask these questions, I like prefacing it with like, your answer can change. No one is gonna like legally bind you to what you say and rub it in your face the next week. Be like, no, you said Steve. Like, you have to stick by Steve. But if you just had this, like, in this moment, right now, looking back, favorite character, Kevin, who is it? Go.
It's gotta go. I gotta go Goldenblatt. I gotta say, like, one of the great characters written, one of the great like romantic partners for a person is like, think about. I mean, truly think about this. You set up a character who literally needs their life fulfilled. Like, this is not just Charlotte, but there are millions of fans who saw her get fucking destroyed by Trey. And as a showrunner and creator, they have to write a character and then cast a character that lives up to fan expectation for a character that is like, this person has to satisfy one of our four ladies. Like, that is a tall order. Yeah. And for him to go down as, and listen, like, you can try and do that, but they try and do that all the time on like Friends and different places, and there's fan backlash. For you to be able to set the high expectations and then meet them with someone who by the end of the series, you're just like, what a great guy. And also it seemed realistic. It not seem like total fan service to just be like, we just unreal, like he's flawed, he's interesting, he's whatever. And I think he's just one of the great characters to like come into a series pretty late and have you really like fall in love with him.
Yeah. Cory, do you have one? Is it Steve?
No, it's not Steve. I was really thinking about this. I have two that I am just like so torn between.
What are they? Who are they?
So I'm gonna say the one that I'm picking, and then the one that I was torn between. It's Charlotte. Charlotte is favorite character. Wow. I feel like she's so fully developed and realized, and if you look at her over the whole series. But the one I was really torn with is Trey. Because if you say, who's your favorite character? I mean, listen, people can hate Trey. And this is why I didn't pick him. I can't tell if it's just Kyle MacLachlan is so good.
Yeah.
But like, Trey is a freaking fun character.
Yeah.
I mean,
incredible.
Jugs Magazine, Cardboard Baby, but also like coming back at the end at the photo shoot, giving her the apartment, but just being like the biggest weirdo. Like, he's such a fun freaking character. He really is.
Also I think I like where your head's at, because it's like how many like he'd already been on Twin Peaks, and these writers get to be like, you get to play this like perfectly put together surgeon who like they have this perfect romantic meeting on the street, and then a few episodes later he's got his pants down just like jerking it in a bathroom, and it's like that'd be so fun. He'd be a fun character to write.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Completely. Yeah.
I gotta go
all Charlotte based characters right now. Charlotte and Charlotte.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I mean, I think I would probably also say Harry, but for the sake of conversation, I'm gonna go with Samantha. I think Samantha truly, like, my preconceived connotations of Samantha was that she was just like this fly by night kind of character with no soul, and like just like she was just like the shock value of the show, and seeing her friend up and seeing her deal with the cancer, seeing her be extremely loyal, seeing her fall in love with Smith, seeing her in professional settings, and then also nail the like ridiculous scenarios that she was in. I don't think the show. Don't think that they could have done the show without any of the characters. Like they all played an important role, but Samantha's for me was right now just so incredible. So
yeah,
Sam, I'm a Sam guy. I'm a Sam man.
Sam man. Enter Sam man.
We have JPG Gypsy said, "Do you have tissues?" We did, and we cried a little bit, and that also I think could go right into this from our friends at Every Outfit on SATC. They said, did Miranda saying "go get your girl" give you fucking chills or what?
Yeah,
and I feel
absolutely.
like yes, I feel like we all said that we didn't have tears fall, but we definitely got chills a bunch. That was a big chill moment.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And
I think was that top 3 favorite moments in the show? It was for me, for sure. It was seeing Big sheepishly walk in there, and then seeing them talk about Carrie, and then just go get our girl. I loved it.
Yeah.
I'd say that scene was, because I think you just seeing Big like own it too. That was a great scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
that was top 3.
I think favorite scene in the show, looking back at the show as a whole, is when Charlotte looks at the picture of their baby and says, "That's our baby." Like that line and scene right there was, woo, tissues.
I think it's really fun to kind of see two characters. Like there's like a whole like Seinfeld episode when like George and Elaine hang out without Jerry, and they just talk about Jerry the whole time. And that was kind of fun, because it was like, oh yeah, everything is between Big and Carrie, and it wasn't long, and sure he's met them before, but it was fun after a long time to not have Carrie be the connector and just like have Big with the friends. And I think that is essential to their relationship being strong, is him earning their trust again. So I think that was really cool. And that was like that was a great moment. We talked about it before, but also when, Charlotte and the baby moment, like that was another one that gave me big time chills.
Yeah.
And then also, just like, I don't know, the camera crane going up at the end, just sort of like the last shot, you're just like, fuck, they nailed that.
J Dahlia 3 said, "Are you having Jen Kirkman join again?" Too late. Already did.
Too late.
Absolutely.
Thanks. Absolutely, we fucking did.
Absolutely.
Oh, we talked about this a little bit, so we don't have to spend a ton on this, but Coco Masala said, was the slap intentional? We talked about this on the last one, and we talked about this with Kirkman. I'm going to say no. But like what we talked about was there was already some struggle going on, and I don't think it was a slap, but I think it was almost like a get off me, like a kind of like throwing your hands up, like just let me, and in doing that, kind of lose control a little bit. And like, I don't think he was like, I'm going to slap you, but I think I think in real life, it was like probably like, all right, let's chill out a little bit. And I think in the like show, it's like a bellwether of like, this is another strike thing.
It wasn't
regardless of whether or not the slap made contact. I think that Kevin brought up a great point. That energy and that like quick aggression is something that probably should not be found in a relationship. So like, I think that it was interesting that it ended in an accidental slap, but that like jerking away and negative energy is something that I don't think should happen.
It wasn't intentional, but it was preventable.
Holy cow, man!
Mm-hmm. Good words.
Did you get that from your walk,
Dr. Phil? Dr. Phil,
got it.
He just gave tough love. I do. That's what Petrovsky needs, some tough love.
We got a
Alexander. Alexander, you can't do that in a relationship.
What if someone just said, "Those are light boxes. Those are just light boxes"? Would you slap them?
No.
No.
Why did you just leave her alone at the museum? She was sitting there alone. And by the way, Carrie, you can't smoke in there. That's a museum.
Dude, new podcast idea. Dude. You just do Dr. Phil voice and recap every single episode.
Hey, that's not how you kiss. You don't lick her face. We can't do kissing lessons.
Trey, not a cardboard baby.
That's not a joke. That's a real woman right there. You look at her and you apologize. Oh my gosh, dude. Sex in the City 3. Phil, they go on Dr. Phil. They like, oh man.
Oh my god.
Oh, that's so good.
You go get your girl.
So
I can't believe that dude fucking that's his job.
I understand smoking weed. I understand wanting some chicken. But the combination of those two things, that guy is a loser.
That's not who you want to spend your life with. A bum shacking up with a bum? Look at him. Yeah, you're going to have fun, but that's not who you want to raise kids with.
All right.
Oh my god.
All right. SSSHHEEAA 88 says, does the show go against its initial message that women don't need men to be happy?
No, if you're listening to this podcast, you fucking know the answer. You need men to be happy. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Dr. Phil, come on.
1 + 1 = 2. You need each other.
I'm going to read what I wrote, the notes I took for Carrie's last quote. But I think she addresses that. Like, where is it? You guys talk amongst yourselves.
Support for this podcast comes from Microsoft Teams. Now, there are more ways to be a team with Microsoft Teams. Bring everyone together in one space with a new virtual room. Collaborate live, drawing, sharing, and building ideas with everyone on the same page. And make sure more of your team is seen and heard with up to 49 people on screen at once. Learn more about all the newest Teams features at Microsoft.com/Teams.
Support for this podcast comes from AT&T. All right, so to stay connected, AT&T Business has the only wireless plan your teams need. With mobile hotspot data up to 100 gigabytes, they can easily use their phones to connect tablets and laptops to the internet from really virtually wherever work takes them, giving them the power to boost productivity even on the go. Upgrade to AT&T Business and get our best plan with nationwide 5G and 100 gigabytes in mobile hotspot data. Visit att.com/business elite. Terms and conditions apply.
In short, you can't, like, no exterior thing can make you happier. You can be happier, but a man can't make you happy any more than a woman can make you happy, because that's not the one thing. Like, you have to have some level of fulfillment without that. And so I feel like if that's your answer, if you think that's your answer, you'll be disappointed by just like everything. you know?
Yeah, she said in relationships, there's some that are new and exotic, those that are old and familiar, those that bring up lots of questions, unexpected, far from where you started. There are those that bring you back. The most exciting, challenging relationship of them all is the one you have with yourself. And if you find someone to love the you love, well, that's just fabulous. So I think she says it like the most important thing for a man or a woman is to love yourself, to have a healthy, solid relationship with you yourself first. And then if you can find someone who loves that version of you, that's fabulous. So, sorry.
Didn't you say that in our final talk, John? I believe you said that maybe even before the Carrie quote. You said something about that, about saying like you have to love yourself before you're in a relationship.
Possibly. I mean, I think that's, yeah. I mean, I think that's incredibly true. I think Dr. Phil or any relationship expert would agree. You have to, if you don't love yourself, you are not going to be able to love someone else. Period. Full stop.
And on top of that, if you don't love yourself, it's not going to come out like, oh, I'm kind of not happy. I feel like sometimes, like, if you're like, man, I sure would like a boyfriend or husband or wife or girlfriend or something. As time goes by, it's going to come out in ways that are like, you know, self-destructive things, whether it's like, you know, dealing with, you know, not like clinical depression, but like covering those feelings up of like being depressed and like not pursuing things you want to pursue, or drinking, or hooking up with people too much, or you know, or just, I don't know, letting your dreams die or whatever. Like, it's not just going to be like, I feel like if you're in the position to say like, I would like a person to be with, that is different than thinking like a relationship will fulfill you.
Yeah.
Like,
yes.
I think like the people that I've seen that like, that's all they want. Like, I don't know, you put your hopes on anything and that doesn't get there. Like, it can get pretty dark if you're not working on yourself. I know, I think we all know people that it's like, we're a little older now, but people that had like a rough time in their 20s or like mid 30s and like have given up by this point. And that I know some people that aren't going to find people in that position, but also like hang out with a darker crowd. And really it's like, come on, you got like something to live for. So I don't mean for that to get too dark, but it's like, you want to take care of yourself, not just for it being physically, but also mentally, so that hopefully you end up finding like a other healthy person. Not just like, I don't know, hanging out in, you know, I don't know, letting yourself go in all those different ways. Then you're going to meet like a shittier person who's probably, you know, I don't know, that got dark.
Listen, you guys should have come on the hike yesterday. This is like this. I feel like we said all our stuff on the hike, and you know, like the stuff we're saying on the hike was gold. Now we're just, this is just the chips in the pan after we pan for gold. No, but like that didn't really make sense. But I know what you're saying in the sense that like the Carrie thing, for as much as Carrie gets flack for being, you know, self-centered, or like, I was gonna say like, you know, self-centered or like kind of flighty or whatever, I do think that quote like does ring true for good advice, because I think like what you're saying is right, Kevin. If you're just like, at some point it's like what we're saying, that relationship is never going to fill that hole. And so you do need to be like, things are going to be up and down for the rest of your life, no matter what, you know, and you got to be okay. And you can't put the weight of that on another person. So even though like my initial reaction, and this is, I don't know where this comes from, maybe from like how I was raised, whatever, but my initial reaction to being like, the most important relationship is with yourself, my initial reaction is like, no, that's not true. That's selfish. That's completely like self-centered and person-centered, like focusing on yourself. But then I actually, when we pick it apart, I think it's true, is that you can't, it's like the being on an airplane and putting your mask on thing. It's like you can't really help other people. You're supposed to put your oxygen mask on first before you go do that to other people.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that like your relationship with yourself trumps everything in every scenario.
Yeah.
It just means that you gotta have to be able to do some like healthy self-work and understand where you're going so you can like rightly relate to others.
Yeah.
And
I think
that's like always going to be it's going to be work, I think.
Yeah. I think a relationship is two individuals trying to make one thing work, and you have to love both parts of the relationship in order for the relationship to work. So like you can approach it, be like, I'm going to be unselfish and just love this other person, but eventually that's going to put too much weight and pressure on the relationship, and I think it's going to fall through. But there's also like you're right. I think it's kind of like a bit of a razor's edge where it can fall into selfishness. And I do think Carrie is, for the most part, a selfish person. I don't necessarily know if that's because she loves herself. I think that might just be who she is, where she prioritizes herself in inappropriate times over other people. But I think that's definitely something to be cognizant of, is that this can oscillate too far into a selfishness zone, probably pretty easier than someone who is wired, not selfish. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff to think about.
All right. I have a number of ones that I'm going to mash all into one because a bunch of people asked about it. Which is a bunch of people want to know what we thought about the name.
Big's name?
Big's name. The name
Garbage.
reveal.
Awful. It was horrible.
What? Why, John? You're John. You're a John.
It's such a boring name. Like his name should have been Demetrius or something like that. Like
what about like
John?
Bertrand?
And I think part of it, like we talked, is like we're watching the show after the fact. Like maybe if it was like night of and it revealed it would be really fun to see. But like it didn't do anything for me.
What if his last name was actually Bigglesworth? And that's what Mr. Big was short for. So his name was like Mr. John Bigglesworth.
I'm John Bigglesworth. That's why.
I'm John Bigglesworth.
Is it just because he's tall? That's it?
No, I think it's because he's like Mr. Big. He's like
a big shot.
Okay.
Yeah, he's like a big shot. Exactly.
Okay. More rapid fire questions. Do you think this is from Victoria Ann Yang? NC Thomas 1122 said, do you think Carrie and Big belong together?
Yes.
Yeah, I do.
Absolutely. I agree.
Yep.
Here's a good one. What kind of love are you guys looking for?
Ooh.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm looking for unbelievable, uncontrollable. What's her quote? What does she say?
Oh yeah, hold on.
Brad. Indescribable, unforgettable love.
Is that what she says?
No, she says
I have the clip here. Keep talking. I'll see if I can find it.
Well, I mean, the thing that Carrie says, which is really great, is that I do think it says, I am someone who is looking for love, real love, ridiculous, inconvenient, consuming, can't live without each other love. And I don't think that love is in here. I think that if you've listened to the podcast, like you've heard this throughout, but like John and Katie have that, but it's cool on the day to day. And one of the things Cory and I said on our date yesterday, but it's like companionship. I think the older you get, the more it's like Carrie kind of has that with Mr. Big. Like that's what it feels like to have all consuming love. And it's like that, how has that worked out? It's not always been fun, right? Like,
yeah.
And I think that the type of love that is really special, and I've seen it in my parents and like the relationships that I like, and this is what I would hope for Carrie and Big in 20 years, is like, they're like, when he's reading the newspaper, you know, that picture, whatever episode, they're just like, he's reading the newspaper and they're in bed together.
Yeah.
I hope that Carrie appreciates moments like that rather than remembering the times that it's like Big came to Paris and he grabbed me, and that it's like, it's like in bed reading the newspaper. Like those were those great moments that you had, and chasing the thrill is something that is always going to wear off.
Yeah,
and so
I think Steve does so much of a better job embodying that love than Big does, and same with Harry. Like,
yeah,
I think Carrie and Big should end up together, but like she's with Big because he's a billionaire, has a personal driver, and like can afford to go get her in Paris. Like,
but also I think they do like make each other laugh. I think they do have this like
that
weird
is true.
chemistry that works with the two of them. I don't know if it's, great with everybody, but I think that they do have some sort of connection. Now those perks she probably really enjoys those, and he enjoys having, a beautiful writer girlfriend who's very into fashion. So it's like, I think those aspects probably match up for both of them, but I think that they do have some like personal things that are together. I don't think that's the only reason, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Let's do 2 more questions.
Okay.
Do you have any that you've been eyeing?
There's one that I was eyeing. It says, how do you feel about, this is Tony Julianelle 4.
Ooh.
She says, how do you feel about the scene where Carrie yells at Big in the street? This is when Carrie's like on her way to her goodbye dinner with her friends, and then Big shows up, and she's like, you always show up, you always do this, like I have to go, I can't talk to you, like that one. I thought it was really good. I feel like I have been in intense relationship discussions in the street before, and like they're not fun. But like they're needed, and like people have to be honest, and I think that was like a good showing of like one, reality, and also like if you live in New York City, and I'm sure it happens in other cities where people walk around a lot, you see discussions on the street all the time.
That's one of the funniest parts about living in New York.
I mean, that's like I when I was saying like I've been in discussions before, I was like, oh, I am that person. It's like I'm that person that everyone's looking at now, where it's like me and someone are fighting on the street or whatever. But I think that was like a good show of reality, and it was also a good show of Carrie, even though she was wrong where she was going, of like putting her foot down to just be like, listen, I'm sorry, I made up my mind. I'm moving on, and you always do this, and I don't know what it is, but you keep doing this. So I think it was a great scene. And I think that probably brought Big to the dinner with the girls, where he was like, look, I've screwed up. I feel like I can just waltz in here and fix things, or not even fix things, just do what I want. And I've realized I can't do that. That's my take.
I think I loved that scene, and I think that every relationship that is going to survive the ups and downs that Big has, like it needs those moments on the street. Like you can't have them all the time, and hopefully they're not on the street, but like you need like sometimes those moments to air those long held grievances are necessary. And even like everybody has those, like those are the when you're scared, or those are the things that when you're saying like she's not saying like come towards me, but she is saying like she's sending him a warning that it's like, if you proceed, you need to fucking know this, like, and she probably couldn't articulate the fact that deep down she still cares about him, but she needed to be like, you need to know. I don't know. Like she had to do that in order to be okay with him showing up in Paris. Am I going to?
Do you think if she would have said that, or like say she would have said that in the second season, do you think they would have ended up together sooner? Like, do you think she kind of needed to put that ultimatum on him? Just be like, stay away from me. We are done. Because I can't remember her aggressive. I mean, I guess she said it to him after the Aiden thing when we're like, we're done, we're over, we're more than over.
We're so over. There's no word for we need a new word.
So
for
I guess that's not the first time she's told him.
But this was the first time it was in like that level of like, I'm not joking. Like that's this. I don't know if he would have said that in the second, she would have said in the second season. I don't know if it would have worked because I think the timing of two people is such a like specific thing.
Yeah.
And you're like, he had to like get married and then like not work out.
She had to throw his wife down the stairs, knock out her teeth,
get his wife's teeth knocked out by the
ruin
woman
ruin her lovely lunch.
Dude,
he probably had to drunkenly berate Raul a million times. God, poor Raul.
Think about this. How absolutely, when you like see like what an ex is up to and you're just like, oh, what a fucking bitch. Or like if it's a girl and it's just like, oh, what?
It's so honest and true. I just didn't expect that was like the words you were gonna say.
Just imagine. I mean, listen, everyone listening, just come with me. Imagine what it's like to move on with your life, and then you're just like scrolling through Instagram, and you're on like someone else's thing, and then all of a sudden you're Natasha, and then you just see Big and Carrie are engaged. You'd be like, fuck off.
Man.
100%.
Just like you would be like fucking
dude, they should have given us a Natasha reaction gif. Just just her being like, oh my gosh.
Like
that's so
just
funny.
The most justified, like, are you fucking kidding me?
Dude, just more salt than the Morton's plant. Just so upset.
I wonder, I don't know if we find out about it, in the movies, but like, I wonder like what Natasha is up to, who she ended up with. She seems like she would marry like a pro athlete or something like
Tom Brady.
She seems like Tom Brady.
I was about to say Tom Brady. She seems like she'd marry Tom Brady.
She married Tom Brady in real life.
So the last question I have.
Wait, did she really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. She did.
And then Tom Brady pulled a big on her with
and then Tom Brady
Giselle.
knocked her freaking teeth out and got Giselle.
So the last question is: we still have a lot of people saying what's coming next. What's after the movies? What are you boys doing when this is done? We're not just gonna waste time like Kevin alluded to. We have a plan. We're gonna do
time. I didn't say waste time. I said fill time.
He said fill time. We will be filling time, but it will be intentional.
We're gonna continue uploading episodes to our Patreon. We are going to watch the movies. Obviously, we have a lot of very special guests committed to doing the show. We have writers. We have some more actors and people who were on the show. And then, just like all of you fans, we're going to rewatch the show. You can't absorb everything there is to absorb on just one watching of Sex and the City. We are going to watch it. We're going to rewatch it. We are going to, now that we've seen it, we can even plan our episodes a little bit more about what we're going to talk about. I'm particularly going to try to focus on the fashion. I feel like we missed so much of the fashion the first time around trying to dial into the story arc. And this time I want to highlight some of the fashions, some of the scenery and areas they are in New York, and just rewatch it with a fresh set of lenses. I don't know. What do you guys think?
What if we each had an area we focused on? And then we would have to do research, and it would be like, all right, let's go to the fashion angle.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
So I think that's good.
It would be a self-improvement project. I'm saying this because it would teach us. It would teach each of us like about things. Like you have talked a lot of times how you're like, I love getting clothes from Costco, but it's like you would learn. You would still appreciate a bargain and get clothes from Costco, but like you would probably learn so much more about the fashion world. We all would.
One of us has to. We each have to do something from the show. I have to up my fashion game. Kevin, you have to sleep with as many different people as Samantha does in the show.
Yep.
It's my cross to bear. But I'll do it with pride.
And
I'll do it at Pride.
And exactly. And I have to convert to Judaism.
You have to
All right, fine, I'll do it. All right.
Exactly.
I'll do it.
But yeah, that's a taste of some of the things coming up. Stick with us though. We're here for you all first, our fans that we appreciate so very much, and we're going to continue diving deeper into the wonderful world that is Sex and the City fandom, which we are so lucky to be a part of.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah. It's so fun. This, like, you all made it as fun as it was. Like, I don't know. It felt like we were watching it with our friends. So thanks for following with us. Totally.
Yeah, reading through all these responses and there being questions that are like personal questions too, being like, what are you guys looking for? And just like, any of that is really cool. And it actually makes us feel like we have a community. Community. Hey, I'm gonna ask for a one-word answer on this final question.
Okay.
This is from Lady Claire. It says, what do you three think of Carrie in the last ep versus Carrie in the first ep? Weaker, stronger, other?
Man,
that's a good question.
That's a great question. I'll go first and you guys can think. I'm going to say stronger. And I guess I'll say we can say one word and then you could give one sentence to do it. I'll say stronger, and I'll say because of more experience, still has some of the same pitfalls, but like more self-realization. That's where I'm falling on that one.
I'm going to say stronger because I feel like we got to know who she was over the years, but it's like, and we pick on Carrie sometimes, but for the most part, it's like she's been through a lot. And I would say if I could see what Carrie Bradshaw would be up to over the next 10 years, it would be better than her last 10 years, how she was as a person. I think she'd be stronger and less selfish and more knowledgeable and kinder and all that stuff. So I say stronger.
I'm going to say other. I don't know. I don't know what my other word is. I mean, I think Carrie's in a very similar spot than she was in her first episode. I think like if you would have gone and looked at the 10 years or like the 6 years prior to the first episode, they probably would have looked very similar to the the 6 seasons that we watched. I think that her, by nature, she's a volatile person, and that's what makes her column interesting. She's back upstairs with Big, but we're not sure if they're gonna make it. I mean, I know they do in the movies, but she's back smoking cigs, and I don't know. I think she's like in a similar spot, and that is not. This was a 30 seconds of thought that I've put towards this. So I don't know if I can back it up, but that's just my feeling.
Kevin and I think are definite. We weigh on the idealist side, and you are the logic side. You're not the logic side. You weigh on the logic side, I guess is what I'm saying. And we found that through the podcast.
Hey, also guys, we got like 12 new reviews since our last episode.
Whoa.
Megan Trox, Molly ES, TX Rachel T, J Curl, Jules, Ellen Archie, and Barry and Birdie. That's someone's name. Is that from a show? Ellen Archer and Barry and Birdie?
I don't know.
I want to watch that show. But thank you all for doing 5 Cosmo reviews. And that was so nice. And if you haven't, please go do it. But that's awesome. Usually we have a few every week, but we have like 10 new ones. So thank you.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah, do that. Do that. Subscribe to our do that. And what else, bro? Subscribe to our Patreon for more great apps. Follow us on Spotify. Follow us on iTunes. And just keep sending us stuff.
Send us an email.
To you.
Send us an email.
Send us an email. We'll read it and we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Bye.
Later.
Right.
Later, taters.
Later, taters.
The Bradshaw Boys stars Cory Cavin, Kevin James Doyle, and Jon Sieber. The show is produced by me, Jeremy Balon, and narrated by Katie Sieber. This podcast is part of the Seltzer Kings Network. Check out all their great podcasts at seltzerkings.com. You can find the boys on their socials at The Bradshaw Boys or on their website at thebradshawboys.com. And as always, if you see them in the street, tip your glass. Thanks for listening.